Since the dawn of humanity, it has evolved. It has advanced its healthcare, agriculture, economy, and much more. However, alongside this progress, violence, war, and destruction have also evolved. And today, we're going to explore exactly that darker side of human evolution. But with a touch of humor. So, welcome to what might be the most brutally honest ranking you have ever seen on this platform. I am Anthony Emerald. Yes, a green dragon. Yes, I have opinions. And no, I will not sugarcoat anything today. Today we rank the 7 most powerful weapons in human history. Not by feelings, not by YouTube thumbnails, but by 4 cold mathematical criteria we call the coins of criteria. Every weapon gets a score, every score gets a reason, and at the end, one weapon sits alone at the top. Let us find out which one deserves that throne. The coins of criteria. Before we dive in, let me explain how this ranking works. Each weapon is evaluated by 4 coins of criteria, each scored from 0 to 10. The final score is the sum of all 4 coins, with a maximum of 40 points. Coin number 1. Production. This evaluates how easy the weapon is to manufacture. We look at raw material availability, the complexity of the production process, and how many units can be produced from a given amount of resources. Coin number 2. Lethality. This evaluates how destructive the weapon can be. Does it neutralize the enemy quickly, or does it cause prolonged suffering? How efficiently does it eliminate opposition? What is its destructive ceiling? Coin number 3. Projected fallen. This evaluates the estimated number of casualties per use, based on historical records or reasonable projections from available data. Coin number 4. Historical impact. This evaluates whether the weapon changed the outcome of its war and whether it left a permanent mark on world history. The scores are brutally honest. If a weapon deserves a 0, it gets a 0. If it deserves a 10, it gets a 10. No mercy, no bias, just the numbers. Weapon number 7. The longbow. We start at the bottom of our ranking with something deceptively simple, the longbow. Wood, string, and an arrow. That is it. And yet, this weapon turned medieval battlefields into absolute chaos. The English longbowmen at Agincourt in 1415 showed the world what a trained archer could do, sending roughly 10 to 12 arrows per minute at ranges up to 300 meters. The French knights learned that lesson the hard way. Coin 1. Production. Yew wood was not abundant everywhere, and training an archer took years, sometimes an entire lifetime. You could not simply hand someone a longbow and call him a soldier. Mass production of the weapon itself was relatively accessible, but the human resource cost was enormous. Score 6 out of 10. Coin 2. Lethality. Effective at distance and capable of piercing chainmail, but it struggled against plate armor. The lethality depended heavily on the skill of the archer. An arrow through the chest was devastating, but it was not always a clean or immediate end. Score 5 out of 10. Coin 3. Projected fallen. At Agincourt, estimates suggest between 6,000 and 10,000 French soldiers were put out of action, many by English archers. But the longbow's reach per individual engagement was limited. It changed battles. It did not change civilizations. Score 4 out of 10. Coin 4. Historical impact. The longbow dominated European warfare for nearly 2 centuries. It gave a common man with years of training the ability to bring down a noble knight in full armor. That shift in power dynamics had real and lasting political consequences. Score, 7 out of 10. Final score, 22 out of 40. The longbow is the foundation, impressive for its era, but outclassed by everything coming up next. And speaking of outclassed, wait until you see what is at number 6. Weapon number 6. Greek fire. The Byzantine Empire's most terrifying secret weapon. And they kept it a secret so effectively that we still do not fully know the exact formula today. It burned on water. It adhered to surfaces. It could not be extinguished with water. In fact, water made it worse. If that does not make you slightly uncomfortable, I genuinely do not know what will. Coin 1. Production. The production of Greek fire was extremely secretive and complex. The exact recipe was guarded by a single family and passed down under oath. It could not be mass-produced at scale. This extreme scarcity limits its production score significantly. Score, 4 out of 10. Coin 2. Lethality. Burns on water, burns through shields, burns through armor, adheres to surfaces and continues burning. The psychological and physical impact on anyone who encountered it was catastrophic. There was almost no conventional way to escape it on a naval battlefield. Score, 9 out of 10. Coin 3. Projected. Fallen Greek fire was decisive in several naval engagements, most notably the Arab sieges of Constantinople in 672 and 717 AD, where it reportedly eliminated entire enemy fleets. However, its use was geographically and strategically limited. Score, 6 out of 10. Coin 4. Historical impact. Greek fire literally preserved the Byzantine Empire, and with it, Eastern Roman civilization for centuries. Without it, Constantinople might have fallen 700 years earlier than it did. The entire course of European and Middle Eastern history could have shifted. Score, 8 out of 10. Final score, 27 out of 40. Greek fire burns its way to number 6, literally saving an empire, but too secretive and too limited in scale to climb higher. Up next, something far more scalable and far more familiar. Weapon number 5, the gunpowder cannon. Born in China, refined in Europe, and responsible for making medieval castle walls completely irrelevant. The cannon did not just change warfare, it restructured the entire concept of defense. If your walls could be broken in days instead of months, the entire feudal military system collapsed along with them. Coin 1. Production. Iron and gunpowder were increasingly accessible across Eurasia. Cannon foundries could produce multiple units with skilled labor, and by the 15th century, large-scale cannon production had become a real industrial operation in several European nations. Score, 7 out of 10. Coin 2. Lethality. A direct hit from a cannonball could eliminate multiple targets simultaneously. Against fortifications, it was nearly unstoppable, and against infantry in formation, it was devastating. The sheer physical force and noise also created enormous psychological disruption on the battlefield. Score, 8 out of 10. Coin 3. Projected. From the fall of Constantinople in 1453, where Ottoman cannons breached walls that had stood for 1,000 years, to the Napoleonic Wars, cannon fire accounted for enormous casualties across centuries of conflict. Conservative estimates place cannon-related losses in the tens of millions over 500 years. Score 7 out of 10. Coin 4. Historical impact. The cannon ended the age of castles. It empowered centralized states over feudal lords. It enabled European colonial expansion across the Americas, Africa, and Asia. Few weapons have reshaped the political map of the world as thoroughly. Score 9 out of 10. Final score 31 out of 40. The cannon is where history truly accelerates. But what is at number 4 made the cannon look like a toy in comparison? Weapon number 4, the Maxim machine gun. Invented in 1884 by Hiram Maxim, an American-British engineer who reportedly said he wanted to invent something that would allow Europeans to eliminate each other as efficiently as possible. Mission accomplished, Hiram. Mission absolutely accomplished. Coin 1. Production. Industrial manufacturing in the late 19th century made the Maxim gun increasingly producible at scale. European colonial powers could outfit entire battalions. The components were standardized and ammunition was manufactured in bulk across major industrial nations. Score 8 out of 10. Coin 2. Lethality. 600 rounds per minute. That is the number that changes everything. One single gunner could suppress and eliminate what would have taken hundreds of soldiers to achieve just decades earlier. The rate of fire made it nearly impossible to advance against in open terrain. Score 9 out of 10. Coin 3. Projected fallen. On the first day of the Battle of the Somme on July 1st, 1916, approximately 57,000 British soldiers were put out of action, with machine gun fire being the primary cause. Over the course of the First World War, machine guns are estimated to have been responsible for the majority of the conflict's 20 million casualties. Score 9 out of 10. Coin 4. Historical impact. The machine gun ended the era of mass infantry charges forever. It forced the development of trench warfare, armored vehicles, and air power. It also enabled European colonial expansion to proceed with brutal efficiency across Africa and Asia in the late 19th century. Score 8 out of 10. Final score 34 out of 40. With her machine gun industrialized conflict in a way nothing before it had. But the top 3 operate on a completely different level. Weapon number 3, the ballistic missile. We begin with the V-2 rocket, Nazi Germany's terrifying technological achievement of 1944, and we arrive at the modern intercontinental ballistic missile, capable of reaching any point on Earth in under 30 minutes. The ballistic missile turned the atmosphere itself into a battlefield. Coin 1. Production. The V-2 required rare materials and the forced labor of thousands to produce. Modern intercontinental ballistic missiles require highly sophisticated engineering and industrial capacity available only to major world powers, further constrained by international treaties. Score 6 out of 10. Coin 2. Lethality. A conventional ballistic missile can eliminate an entire city block. A nuclear-equipped intercontinental ballistic missile can eliminate an entire metropolitan area in seconds. The lethality ceiling of this weapon category is, for all practical purposes, unlimited. Score 10 out of 10. Coin 3. Projected fallen. V-2 strikes put approximately 9,000 people out of action during the Second World War. But the projected casualties of a full exchange between nuclear powers are measured in hundreds of millions, potentially reaching a civilization-ending scale. We score on realistic potential. Score 8 out of 10. Coin 4. Historical impact. The ballistic missile created the Cold War. It gave birth to the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, which has arguably prevented a Third World War. No weapon has shaped global politics and diplomacy more profoundly in the last 80 years. Score, 10 out of 10. Final score, 34 out of 40. Tied with the machine gun, but placed higher due to its lethality ceiling and geopolitical impact existing in a completely different category. Number 2 is the weapon that ended a world war in just 2 uses. Weapon number 2, the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, a single aircraft released a single device over Hiroshima, Japan. In less than a second, approximately 80,000 people were gone. 3 days later, Nagasaki. And within days, Japan surrendered, ending the deadliest conflict in human history. 1 weapon, 2 uses, 1 war over. Coin 1. Production. The Manhattan Project cost approximately $2 billion in 1945, equivalent to roughly $30 billion today, and required the efforts of over 130,000 people across multiple countries. Highly enriched uranium and plutonium are extraordinarily difficult to produce and refine. Score, 5 out of 10. Coin 2. Lethality. Hiroshima, approximately 80,000 eliminated immediately. Nagasaki, approximately 40,000. Total casualties from both events, including long-term radiation effects, are estimated between 129,000 and 226,000 from a single device each time. Score, 10 out of 10. Coin 3. Projected fallen. 2 devices, over 200,000 casualties. And that is the restrained version, used against specific targets rather than in an all-out exchange. The projected casualties of a full nuclear exchange between modern powers are measured in the billions. This category has no ceiling. Score, 10 out of 10. Coin 4. Historical impact. The atomic bomb ended the Second World War. It created the nuclear age. It gave birth to the United Nations, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Cold War arms race, and the permanent restructuring of global power. No single weapon has had a more lasting impact on how nations interact with one another. Score, 10 out of 10. Final score, 35 out of 40. The atomic bomb is in a class of its own, except for one. One weapon scores higher. And when you hear what it is, it might genuinely surprise you. Weapon number 1. Gunpowder. Not a gun, not a bomb, not a missile. Gunpowder. The substance that made almost every other weapon on this list possible. Invented by Chinese alchemists who were searching for the elixir of immortality and who instead discovered the foundation of modern warfare. If that is not the definition of irony, I genuinely do not know what is. Coin 1. Production. Sulfur, charcoal, and potassium nitrate. 3 widely available substances. Gunpowder can be produced with basic knowledge and minimal equipment. It was mass-produced across multiple continents within centuries of its invention and required no rare materials or complex industrial infrastructure. Score, 10 out of 10. Coin 2. Lethality. Gunpowder itself does not eliminate anyone. It enables every weapon that does. From the cannon to the rifle to the bomb to the missile. All of it runs on the legacy of gunpowder. The indirect lethality multiplier of this substance is essentially incalculable. Score, 9 out of 10. Coin 3. Projected fallen. Historians estimate that gunpowder-enabled weapons have been responsible for over 1 billion casualties across recorded history. That is not a projection. That is a conservative accumulation of data across nearly 1,200 years of recorded conflict. No other weapon category comes close. Score 10 out of 10. Coin 4. Historical impact. Gunpowder ended feudalism. It enabled the age of exploration. It powered the military arm of the Industrial Revolution. It created the modern nation-state. It gave rise to colonialism. Without gunpowder, the last 1,000 years of human civilization unfold in a completely different direction. This is not a weapon. This is a turning point in the history of our species. Score 10 out of 10. Final score 39 out of 40. Gunpowder is the weapon behind all weapons, the enabler, the foundation, the substance that set humanity on the path to everything that followed, for better and for worse. Final ranking. Number 1, gunpowder, with 39 out of 40 points. Number 2, the atomic bomb, with 35 out of 40. Number 3, the ballistic missile, with 34 out of 40. Number 4, the Maxim machine gun, also with 34 out of 40, placed lower due to historical ceiling. Number 5, the gunpowder cannon, with 31 out of 40. Number 6, Greek fire, with 27 out of 40. And number 7, the longbow, with 22 out of 40. If this ranking changed the way you think about any of these weapons or about history in general, then subscribe. Not because I asked nicely, because the next ranking is already being calculated and you do not want to miss it. I am Anthony Emerald, green, sarcastic, and always mathematically correct. See you in the next one.